The verse of the day is Proverbs 2:3-5. And it says, "Cry out for insight and ask for understanding. Search for them as you would for silver. Seek them like hidden treasures. Then you will understand what it means to fear the Lord, and you will gain knowledge of God." I love today's verses because they speak perfectly to my story, how I discovered that Jesus was real and how I gained insight and ultimately learned what fear of God and understanding of God was. A little backstory about me: when I discovered Jesus was real, I was journaling. I was doing a challenge to spend time with God for 21 days in a row, and it was in the journaling and seeking understanding and insight about the things I was struggling with that I saw God come through. So I was literally crying out for insight and understanding about why I felt insecure, why I felt weird around certain people, why I didn't feel confident, why I didn't know how to articulate my thoughts and feelings or stand confidently in who I was. So the crying out, seeking God for understanding is what made me realize that He was real. This is a massive reason why I start the Jesus Challenge with journaling, and why I always put an emphasis on why you should journal and tell God your every thought, every single thing about you, every little feeling that you're thinking, and elaborate to Him in detail. Because when you cry out for insight about the things you're experiencing within you, He gives you understanding. He gives you the insight when you ask for it. Because if you're seeking, you will find. In the Bible, it also says, "Seek and you will find, knock and the door will be opened, ask and you will receive." And that's what this verse is highlighting, that if you are seeking God for anything and wanting insight and understanding and clarity, maybe, or asking Him, "Okay, Lord, what decision should I make? I need your answer. I need your clarity." He gives you understanding, and He helps you articulate your thoughts about what it is you're feeling. Now, it's not always in our timing, which we have to keep in mind, because we so badly want to know right away, right? We seek for understanding on a Monday and we want it on a Tuesday. And it's not always in that time. Sometimes we have to continue to seek, continue to ask questions, continue to ask why or how. And it's in the everyday process of seeking Him that He reveals things in the right time. The amount of times I've asked God why or how or what should I do about X, Y, and Z is just endless. And although I maybe haven't gotten an answer for something right away, I've gotten an answer in one way or another. Whether it's I need to wait, I need to be patient, I needed to surrender my need to know why, because sometimes we don't need to know. All we need to know is that God's got it. So it's giving God all of your heart, all of your concerns, worries, thoughts, desires, while simultaneously putting all your trust in His hands. So if you don't get an answer or you don't get clarity about something right away, it's knowing that He reveals things in the right time. And then you can take the pressure off of needing to know. I think so often we're like, okay, but am I doing all the right things to get all the right answers? I need to know why. I need to know this. But if God isn't giving you clarity and you're asking for it about something, then you can rest in knowing that He doesn't want to tell you about it right now. And you need to surrender your need to know and just continue pursuing Him and continue being present in each day. I think the order of today's verse is kind of cool because it says seek for insight and understanding, which is you asking Him, journaling your thoughts, telling Him everything about what you're wanting insight and understanding for. And then the reason why it says, then you will understand what it means to fear the Lord, is because if you constantly give God all of your thoughts, desires, dreams, in the things you're wanting insight and understanding about, that's you putting all of that in His hands, which is actually another version of saying, Lord, I'm putting you first. I'm trusting you with all of these things. So because you're seeking insight and understanding, that's you effortlessly gaining a fear of God, because you're putting your whole life in His hands. And it's in the process of seeking insight and understanding that you see God come through. And that's what grows your fear of God. That's what grows your faith and grows your relationship. The more you seek, the more you find. And that's why it's important to show up every day, because you're not going to always feel this strong, overwhelming sense of His presence every day. It's not going to be you hearing something every day. It's in that showing up every day that He reveals things in the right time. Sometimes we're not supposed to know certain things, and sometimes we're supposed to feel that uncomfortable feeling of not necessarily feeling him, but will you still show up? Will you still have faith no matter what your feelings are telling you? And that's what God is trying to teach us, to have faith over our feelings, to show up no matter what we feel. I think it could also double as seeking insight and understanding is in this book. Not only just processing your feelings with him, but reading this and creating a daily routine of reading the Bible. You are going to get a ton of insight and a ton of understanding. And again, it's in the seeking that insight, seeking his word, that you will gain knowledge of God. This book is full of knowledge of God. I always say too, in order to develop relationship with anyone, you have to get to know them, right? You have to get to know their character. So when it comes to getting to know God, you need to get to know God's heart. And this is God's heart. This whole book reveals the character of God. And it's in reading this book and learning what God's heart is like that you start to see him more in your everyday life. So it's not that God's not speaking or you can't see God in your life. It's learning his character, and the more you do, you're going to see him show up in your everyday life because you're learning his heart more. So you're going to pay more attention when his heart shows up in your everyday life. Not only will it help you get to know God's heart, it will tell you what God's heart is not. So you'll have a better grid for when the enemy comes at you, what his voice sounds like and how to differentiate the two, because the enemy's voice will always come against you, will always come against your character, tell you you're not good enough, tell you you're unworthy, what you're doing wrong, help you focus on lack. God will highlight the good. God sees you as the best version of you. He sees you as worthy of love no matter what you've done. He loves you aside from your performance. So that's how you're going to start to learn how to renew your mind when the devil comes at you, because when you have a thought that's less than who you are, you're going to be like, wait a minute, no, I know God. I've learned how to gain more knowledge of who God is from this book and from routine with him and from expressing and crying out for insight and understanding. So if I'm feeling like I'm unworthy of love, I think that's just a lie. How about I stop what I'm doing, renew my mind, Lord, fill me with your truth, remind me who I am, tell me who you think I am, realign my perspective with who you see me to be, and help me to move forward. I love how yesterday's verse talked about fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. And so, okay, how do I get wisdom? Start with fear of God. And then you might be like, okay, how do I get fear of God? Today's verse explains how to get fear of God, and it's crying out for insight and understanding. And another way to say that is developing relationships, showing up every day, seeking him, seeking God, learning the character of God, which will give you knowledge and help you see him more in your everyday life and hear him more in your everyday life. So in your journal portion, I would recommend to get so specific about the insight and understanding you're wanting in your life. Maybe it's, Lord, I want to know who I am. Lord, I want to know what you've called me to do, who you created me to be. Lord, I want insight for how to deal with this relationship. Lord, I want insight for how to write this book. I want insight for how to create good routine every day. One of my favorite prayers, you guys, and I do this daily, is I ask God for strategy about everything. Even when it comes to like what I wear, I'm like, Holy Spirit, I pray you would give me the strategy to dress well this week. Give me a new wave of creativity to choose new outfits. Or maybe it's, Holy Spirit, I pray you would give me the strategy for how to create a good morning routine, or the strategy for how to eat well. When it comes to insight and understanding, there are no limits. God is a good father, and if he wants you to know something and you're asking to know, he's gonna tell you. We just have to learn how to be patient with his timeline over ours. So get specific in your journal today, okay?